And welcome back, folks. This is yet another Wet Shavers Roundtable with me, Douglas Smythe from PhoenixArtisanAccoutrements.com, Scott Ostermiller, TheCleanShaver.com, and Mr. Mantic 59 himself, Mark Harrow, is joining us today as well from the Sharpologist.com. And this is a very, very special show today. It's the Q&A second edition show. Last week's show was such a success that I thought we'd do it again. Hell, I think we might do this for the rest of the month, because God knows we all get a lot of questions and we all have a lot of answers. So if there's any news out there joining us today, feel free to ask some questions down below or even in the chat box. And I also have a bunch of questions here that I can read that I've gotten in the past. And I've addressed typically in a PM, but that doesn't serve you guys any good, especially if you're a noob that's maybe a little too shy to ask these questions. So we'll be asking the questions for you where we need to. First up, how are you, Mantic? What's going on?
I'm doing fine. Just a lot of things going on in my life right now, so I haven't had as much time as I've wanted to devote to videos and Sharpologist and things like that. But things are finally settling down with some family issues, and I'll be putting out some new content very, very shortly.
Thank God.
Great.
Thank God. Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, you look great. You look all tan. You've been mowing the lawn or something, Mark?
Just Texas.
Yeah, Texas.
And I got a haircut yesterday, so I'm.
See, that's the difference between Texas and Arizona. Is in Texas you get a tan. In Arizona, we're all running from the car to the house to the store where the air conditioning is, so we don't get tan at all. In fact,
We're having our 2 nice weeks of fall here, so that's. Otherwise, I'm very similar. I'm just running from one air-conditioned place to another.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's funny how that works. Okay, so let us open up the questions. First, if you guys have any questions, post them over now in the chat box or down below, preferably questions box. Oh, and there is some. Scott, do you want to read them as they come in?
Sure. So this one comes from Jason. With all the posts and excitement over single-edge razors on the forums, what are the advantages and drawbacks of these razors? And I believe Stephen Davidson addressed this a little bit in the chat section, but I'll take a whack at this one first, and then I'll let you guys go ahead and trump me with knowledge. So as far as my experience, so there's 2 different kinds of single edges, right? There's the type that takes the gem blades, and then there's also the type that takes the Feather Artist Club blades that are the longer. And actually, I'll grab the 2 that I have here. Just happen to have
Schick also. Don't
one
forget Schick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I'll grab my injector as well. Thanks for the reminder. So there's 3.
Well, 4 if you count the feather single edge that one blade uses in the old auto strops.
The auto strops, yeah, the valets. I kind of put those in the same category as the gems, though, because I mean, minus the spine, they're essentially the same blade. But so, for instance, you'll have one like this. This is the above the tie SE1, which uses the Artist Club style blade. Which these blades are generally they hold more rigid, and that's true across the board more for the single edge blades in general. But then you also have the Micromatic or the gem razors that use the single edge gem blades like you see in a hardware store, except these are better. They're sharper and smoother. And then you see the Schick type or injector type blades. I apologize. This one's used. It's a little dirty, but yeah. But the biggest thing I think for people with these blades is that they're a stiffer blade, and so they often don't have a lot of the flex or the flick that you get with a double edge blade, and so you often get a longer lasting blade, a smoother shave. Though they can, there's drawbacks to each. I mean, they are more expensive generally per blade. They're much more expensive, but it's a trade-off because they generally last longer. I mean, I'm on 12 shaves, I think, with this blade, and it's still nice and sharp. So I've heard some people getting up to 20 or more on a Feather Artist style blade. But very cool. You guys go ahead.
Well, what I see, well, first of all, it's so freaking interesting to me because, only 3 years ago, no one was doing single edge razors anymore. I mean, it was just like I kind of blame this on Rick from his podcast. He was going on in his first few podcasts how someone needs to do this, and I was listening to him. I wanted to, but someone beat me to it, and so it's great to see them back. Because I was told by many a person, no one wants them, and I kind of leave them. And these are people I trusted, but no, they were way off. People want them. People collect. I mean, the vintage ones. People have been going after them for a while, really chasing them. They like them. They love them. I personally don't really like them at all. It's just, and it's more to do with the angle. It's just being a stiffer blade and whatnot. For a razorback blade or a single edge blade, there's no bend to it or whatnot. So you have to work with this angle now. That for me is just I just can't get. I mean, I guess I
Generally
get
like
the shave, but I just don't like
that.
working with that angle, especially like around the nooks and crannies down here with the gem, the old school gems. They kind of just that angle. So as for the benefit of it, Mantic, what do you got?
Very actually similar comments. I mean, it's a stiffer blade just by the nature of the beast, so it is better for some people who have exceptionally thick stubble. I kind of flow the opposite way from you, Douglas, on the whole angle thing, though, particularly with the injector style designs where they've got the angle down better. And I'm, as a matter of fact, waiting with bated breath for a supply provisions single blade that takes the injector. Really, the only real downside that I see with single blades these days, and it's really not that much of a downside, is that you have less choice. There are
blades,
dozens and dozens of double-edged blades, and there's only maybe 3 makers of injector style. Obviously, for the auto strop and gem, there's, as far as I know, a single source for both of those.
Right.
So the feather professional style that is wider, which some people have problems with the width of the blade. There are some alternatives there, but not very many there either. You've got Kai, you've got a couple others, but performance-wise, I think they're a little more dependent on the design of the razor head than the typical double-edged razor head, and they are stiffer by the nature of the beast, so it helps some people and hurts others.
Yeah,
right.
I being the one.
And on that note with the width of the blade, I'm actually finding with this, like initially I thought, I really like the feel of the shave, but the width of the blade is actually kind of a turn off for me. It's like, for some people, they absolutely love it. And as a head shaver, I really like to be able to, like, I like the narrower blade where it's closer to a double-edged width. And I'm finding I might actually be selling this one just because I find I don't reach for it as much.
Now, do you have the same problem with double edge razors that have the extended top caps to hide the blade tabs on the side?
No, for me it's more the actual length of the blade. It's because I mean, even then, a double edge razor with the extended cap is going to be a good half to 5/8 of a.
You're right. That is huge.
Inch difference. It's which it doesn't sound like much, but that is a big difference.
Right. See, another one of my problems with single edge razors is the blades seem to rust faster, or just seem to rust. Where double edge, do you ever notice this? And it might be just because I do a shaving rotation with different razors. So by the time I get back to that one, if I haven't dried it off properly, it's rusted, or it's created rust in there that's actually stained the razor sometimes. I do find they rust where DEs don't. It's
I know some people have that issue with the gem blades if they use if it's a high carbon steel.
Yeah.
But for instance, I always use stainless blades in my gems, and so I never have a problem with rust. But I also live in a really dry climate, so
right, and I do too.
Well, Phoenix is also very dry,
but not my bathroom.
Yeah.
And it always boggled my mind because I figured, I mean, it's not being bent, so there's no chance of screwing with the integrity of the coating or whatnot. Where
the pores,
seeping there. So what I've done in the past, I just throw them in a jar of alcohol. I'll get back to it when I get back to it. But yeah, I've always found they rust. So that was question 1.
Yep.
It's great. In this question section, I have to click on a button where I'm starting to answer the question and where I end answering the question.
Let's see. Another one from Jason. Some of you have amazing collections of razors, soaps, aftershaves, and ephemera.
Yes.
How do you talk to your spouse into giving you more bathroom space, or at least tolerating your new collection disorder?
You need your own bathroom.
Yep. That's why I'm in this one.
Yeah, exactly. I was so stoked when we moved to our new place because it was 2 bathrooms. It's like, yeah, let it grow. And they also had blade slots, disposal slots inside the medicine cabinet too.
Oh yeah,
that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they're not drilled through. They're not drilled through the drywall though, so they're just falling behind the cabinet. So I'm the one who's going to deal with it when I replace the medicine cabinet, if I ever replace the medicine cabinet. But as for talking them into what's giving you more bathroom space, I think the easiest like Trojan horse into that conversation is getting them into wet shaving too. You get them hooked on it, and then they're less. Yeah, they'll allow for more ordering. They'll split the soaps with you, so on and so forth. What do you got for advice there, Mantic?
I'm kind of way out of the norm on this because my wife was the one who got me interested in the first place. So she's actually the enabler. And ever since starting Sharpologist, she says, hey, it's for the business. Go for it. So
I need your wife to give my wife a call.
Well, before that point, my stock answer to her was, but sweetheart, I'm doing it for you.
You want me to smell good, right? You want me to have a baby smooth face.
That's exactly it.
Argue with. That's what Con says every time. It's like, is something wrong with guys smelling good and feeling good? I mean, like,
yeah, it's true.
Why the women complain? Okay, next question. I hope that answered his question.
Yeah, I think it did. Let's see. At the risk of taking the discussion into nuclear war, I'll ask the burning question of the day: to bloom or not to bloom?
Well, okay, let me start with that one because the whole thing of blooming is kind of my fault because I coined the term. But people, whenever you say blooming, I don't know what this is because I've explained myself and the concept so many times on so many shows, in so many comments. Because the comment, I mean, that conversation comes up every 6 months, it seems, and people get really fired up over it. But they put, like, when people say blooming, this is what they, mean, and it's a big misconception. They're talking about putting water on top of the puck and letting it sit there for a few minutes. That is blooming. That's one way to bloom it. And the byproduct of that, when using a hard puck, would be it softens it, so it's going to make it easier to load. But why you're blooming it is to bloom up the scent, much like heating, potpourri, burning a candle, lighting incense. It's all about heating up the essential oils to fill the bathroom with that scent that we, as the artisans, were going for when we were mixing it ourselves, or mixing it hot. So that's what we want you to do. Is it's about heating up the soap. I don't care how you do it, be it hot water, which will also give you again softening. It'll also help soften the hard puck. It'll also give you. Some people like to use the water as a pre-shave. The bloom water they call it. But you can also heat it up. I call this the dry method, and I've explained this many times. Keep the lid on the jar, fill up the sink with hot water, or use a bowl, and just submerge the jar lid on in the water for 5-10 minutes while you shower. It'll float sometimes. If you want,
unless you don't have a waterproof label. And put it in a bag.
If that's important. Yes, that's second step. But put a mug on it to weigh it down. That's great. Another way to do it is, as Scott mentioned, putting it in a bag if you want to protect the label, but also so you can take the lid off, put it in a bag, and the water makes more contact with the product that way. And again, put it in the water. That'll heat it up. And if it's a tube of cream or soap, get a cup or a jar or a mason jar of hot water and put the tube in there 5 or 10 minutes before you shower. And this will bloom the scent. So, I mean, there's many ways to bloom a soap. It's not just the hot or the wet method, though there's nothing wrong with the wet method. I've been reading a lot of stuff lately about it's going to change the pH. It's going to cause, rusting. It's going to destroy the soap. The fact of the matter is, people, when you're done blooming or using your shave soap, you need to allow it to dry for many hours before you put the cap back on and put it away. I myself don't put the lid back on any of my soaps. My bathroom's a bloody mess. But the thing is, I find that, well, it's a continuation or extension of a curing process of the soap, which is going to make it harder. It's going to lose more water, and it's going to last longer. And most people be like, well, what about the scent? It's going to take a long time to lose the scent, unless it's a really volatile, delicate scent. Scent's going to last for a long time. I have a Gillette, an 80-plus-year-old Gillette shave stick that still has a little scent to it, and it's gone through 80 years as a shave stick, not in a package, not in a jar. It's just a stick open to the world. So don't be too weary about that. So that's my advice or my thoughts on blooming. And that's the last time saying it. Now just repeat it the next time you see that in the next six months when it comes up again.
Yep.
What you got, Scott?
And if I can just jump in here real quick regarding blooming, because Joe Borelli isn't here, I wanted to mention that he discussed blooming on one of his previous podcasts, either the last one or the one before the last one. So that'd be something also to check out.
Yes, for sure. Well, what are your thoughts on blooming in general, Mantic?
I think for me personally, it kind of depends on the individual puck. Some seem to lend themselves to soaking while others do not. Personally, I haven't seen it make a lot of difference for me, but one of the things about my setup is I have awfully hard water, so that may play a role in it.
For sure. Scott, what do you got? What do you think on blooming?
Well, so I generally do bloom soaps unless it's more like towards the side of a crope, like super soft kind of stuff, like Katie's Bubbles, Dr. John's.
So you're talking about wet blooming.
I don't wet bloom, and even then, I generally just don't bother with it. If I'm not going to wet bloom it, I don't bother dunking it in the sink or anything like that. I just kind of go with it. But I find that I do a lot, especially with some of the harder soaps, like Mitchell's Wool Fat, for instance. It performs better if you just soak it. It really just does.
Oh yeah.
Even some of the harder soaps, like
I have a video about that.
Yes, you do, and that's one of the places I've seen it. So like even some of the harder soaps, not really hard, but like Soap Commander, or I've done it. I do it with PAA soaps. I've done it with I do it with Mike's, for instance, Mike's Naturals, which none of them are super hard, but I do find that it just helps to loosen up the top a little bit, so I don't have to spend so much time working at the puck to load on my brush. And so for me, it's not as much about filling the bathroom with the scent. That's a nice side product for me, but it's more for me about easing the loading process.
Yeah, see, now that's what we used to do back in the day. We put the hot water in there to soften the puck and do everything you're describing. We never called it blooming. The blooming is a whole nother thing. It's more to do with the scent than anything else. And I think that's where people get confused and frustrated for some reason. And back to the tube, the first time I ever bloomed a soap was Kiss My Face. It was a tube of their shaving cream years. I mean, like 15 years ago, I started doing this. But that tube I would stick in a jar of hot water or a cup of hot water or in the sink. I'd float it. And while I took a shower, and it was so nice once you put it on. The scent really was there, and it works for so many of these tube creams. So give that.
But a good scuttle will do the same thing.
True.
It's true. It's damn true, actually. And tis the season for a scuttle.
It's coming up. Yep.
I know it is. I'm so stoked. I actually been using mine already, but I've been using it as a brush scuttle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and with scuttles, I mean, they are really nice, especially if you live in a cold climate. You can actually fill the sides of the bowl with the hot water, and it's really nice. I also find if you don't have a scuttle, but you have a bowl, like you can kind of see up behind me in this corner, it's a Captain's Choice lather bowl.
Oh yeah.
That I used that this morning, and I like to use it just like I'll fill the sink with hot water and set it down in the sink and just let it warm up. So that, I mean, it's porcelain or ceramic of some sort, so it holds some of that heat. It does help to keep the lather warm for longer.
Yes, definitely. I say that
if you don't have a scuttle.
No, even with the scuttle though, I say prep the scuttle too by doing the same thing. You fill up with hot water, but also fill the sink up with hot water and submerge it in that, and even put some in the top vessel while you take a shower. And then when you get out, you can empty it all out and fill it up with hot water again. If you're crazy like me.
Yeah.
What else we got? But yeah, no, there's nothing like a scuttle. But I do, anyways, whether I'm using a Scuttle or not, just because I like it filling up the bathroom, that scent. I don't know what it is. Did we answer that question?
I think so.
Yeah, without any drama.
Yeah. What do you know? Let's see. With all the choices out there for razors, how do you choose new equipment on budget? It seems every week there's a new SE or a DE that you just have to get.
Yes.
Well, if you're like Mantic, he just gets stuff sent to him all the time. So, I mean,
start a blog.
No, I buy it. I buy it.
Yes. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. On not everything, but most things I actually buy.
Yes.
Excellent.
Mantic and
good way to stay neutral.
Really, like they're good role models when it comes to that, because that's you guys taught me anyways. Order it, because you want the whole review. You want to see how long it took to get to you. Was the website easy to navigate? Everything else is also involved with getting it to you and using it. And plus, you don't feel obligated to give it a great review or whatnot. So I respect that and encourage others to do so. You get many people like starting blogs these days just to get free product, and I can see right through it too. They're always emailing me. I'm like, well, it's probably best if you order it from me. Oh, you can't hear me? The Daily Shaver?
I can hear you just fine.
Well, that's all that matters. Okay, what else we got, Scott?
I'm
sorry. We're still answering that question.
Well, yeah, let's address that a little bit more. I would say if something new comes out and you don't immediately have the space or the finances to get it, hold off on it a little bit, because you'll hear from other people whether or not they like it, and you'll see if chances are if you don't see one up on the buy sell trade groups within a week, it's probably pretty good, or people are liking it. Yeah. And understand that you're going to get some mixed reviews on both sides, but just hold off on it for a little bit. Keep your eyes peeled, and you might see somebody post what you're wanting to try out. They tried it and they didn't care for it, and they'll usually try and sell it for a little bit cheaper, so then you get a little bit of a deal. But it's easy to get caught up in the gotta have the brand new thing right now. It's really easy to get caught up in that, and I'd say just hold off on it for a little bit.
I say look to see if there's a pass around going on with it in
that too.
On one of the forums or whatnot. But yeah, as long as you're already getting good shaves at the end of the day, unless you're a collector, there's no real. I know we all, like, being humans, we're always looking for that magic pill, but like if you're already getting a good shave, chances are you're not going to get a better shave with something. Well, that's arguable, but what I mean is, like, if you're already getting a good shave, that's all that matters first and foremost. There's a difference between like needs and wants, and people sometimes don't realize the difference there. So buzz is one thing, and we all get caught up in it. God knows I get caught up in it too. But
you create a lot of it, Douglas.
I don't mean to. I just get excited about these things. But yeah, I say wait.
Talking off all your wares.
It's like anything else, like any other hobby. What you got, Mantic?
For me, I will say that if I wasn't doing what I am doing now, I would be perfectly content with my Mercure Progress, which I've had for 10 years now. So there is, over on the Shave My Face forum, which doesn't get a whole lot of traffic these days, but was one of the original independent forums. There was a discussion for a long time a few years ago about fidelity, being true to your one kit. And there's something to say about that. I mean, like you just said, Douglas, if it's working for you, why mess with it? I mean, the Progress for me is really an excellent razor. Yes, there are other ones out there that I prefer now, particularly one blade, but that's a whole nother story. But if I wasn't doing that, I'd be perfectly content with what I have, what I had years ago. Sorry.
I'm the same way. Like I could be completely content with, for instance, my Gillette Fat Boy. I get great shaves with that. I could be very happy with a Schick injector, or with. I've really enjoyed trying the Rockwell 6S. It's a great shaving system, and I can be totally happy with that. also really like variety though, so I hang on to a bunch of stuff.
That's the thing, is it's a hobby for a lot of us, and a lot of us are also collectors. I mean, I have many vintage razors, and I absolutely love them. I mean, so there's that part for me, and that's, a lot of them I don't even use. They're just part of my collection, which may be sad. That's like a first world problem right there. But yeah, I say if you're getting good shaves, don't stress too much over it. And if you have to, you might want to leave the forums for a little bit, because that's part of the problem. Bunch of enablers there. I've had to take some breaks for a little while too, because I just don't want to see any more new stuff. But it's out there, and someone's going to review it.
Well, and I'm more of a, I'm along the lines with Jason here. Like I'm more of a soap variety kind of guy. Like I could be happy with like 2 or 3 razors. Yes. And just have a variety of soaps and scents and stuff like that. And I'm good. And a lot of people I think are that way, where they don't have to have all the hair hardware. It's just have a variety of software. It's often cheaper to have a variety of software and just be happy with the hardware that you have.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, you say it's often cheaper, but there's a lot of razors coming out now that are almost the same price as the soap. They're so, I mean, was it the Wunderbar? Joe's new, yeah, that's $20.
Wunderbar slant. That was the Hawk. The
Hawk. Okay.
The Hawk single edge that came out.
A slant for, I mean, like back in the day, this was not available. So I mean, it's even more affordable to check out some new, like I'll say low end, but they're not low end. It's just the materials they're being made with that keep them, cost efficient for some of us. But I mean, a lot of those are great to explore as well if you want to spend a little bit of cash and try something new, especially on a slant. Slants are more available now than they've ever been in history, I think.
Yep. I think Marty actually just made a great point. There's a strong 2 years where you feel the need to get lots of stuff. It's about trial and error and then finding what you really like. And then as your sense and your taste develop, you find what works for you and you find what you enjoy, and you just kind of you experiment here and there, but you just kind of find your groove and you stick with it.
There's a rabbit hole. There's a rabbit hole that a lot of people fall down. The thing is once you start climbing out of that rabbit hole, don't come off so jaded. So many people are like, I don't believe I think it's, it's kind of like giving people advice on love. They're still going to make the mistake anyways. And you got to let them go through it to come, they'll figure it out for themselves. That's what it all comes down. I think we all need to do, and I'm not saying it's a mistake at all. I think you need to experience all those soaps and things to see what you want, what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
I love just a little dialogue going over in the comments here, just saying, Marty said it, you can never have enough custom brushes, or Kenny said that. Marty said, that's right. And Marty just blew all of his credibility, because I know he spent a lot of money.
Marty does have a lot of Marty has a lot of soap. Our first meetup, he brought a bag.
Well, he also lives like how far away from you?
About an hour away, 45 minutes away. But I mean, he was lugging this around. I think Tombstone, this big, like, you could fit a body in this bag, and he wanted to break it up into little samples for all of us. But he had it was like $1,000-something worth of soap in this bag. He was just lugging around. So he's fun to talk. Okay, what else?
Let's see. Let's keep going here. What order should be the post-shave process? Balm then aftershave, or vice versa? And does alcohol versus non-alcohol aftershave change or affect the best application order?
Let me read that.
Gentlemen?
What? Well,
I'll tell you what I generally do. Is so if I've, and it depends on the condition of my shave. If I'd had a very smooth, easy shave, no irritation, no anything like that, I go straight to just an aftershave splash, and that's it for me. If I have a shave where it was kind of rough and gave me depends on the weather. If this air is dry and I'm feeling particularly dried out, I'll use a balm, then an aftershave splash. But that's just me, and I prefer alcohol splashes over just the witch hazel type. Yeah, just because the scent lasts longer generally with an alcohol splash.
There's so many things that decided for me. One is the time of year. Like in the winter in New England, I would go for a balm before an alcohol-based splash. It's kind of changed over here in Arizona, but I will say, like, the science behind it, it depends. If you're using an aftershave with that has a scent that lasts for a considerable amount of time, you might and it's about dry down. How long do you want the dry down to last? If you have a greasy complexion already, or an oily complexion, greasy sounds so bad, it's going to dry down faster. And the same thing goes if you put on the balm first, all those oils and butters, and then splash the aftershave on top of that. It's very similar to having an oily complexion. The dry down is going to speed up. So you might want to keep that in mind when you're in the order that you apply one or the other. But again, you know, people will get the whole line of scents. They'll get the soap, the aftershave, the balm, the tonic, and so on and so forth. You don't need to use all of them in one shave. You can mix it up, and a lot of times that's what I'll do. I'll just use a shave soap and a splash, and that's it. You know, I mean, much like you said, Scott,
I'm getting good enough with my shaves that I'm getting good enough with them where I if I have a normal shave, normal to really good shave, then I just go straight to the splash. I will find say, a lot of room for balms.
One of the best balms out there is well, it's like nature's balm is aloe vera gel, and you want the purer the better. I recommend going to like Trader Joe's or whatever, a mom and pop health food store. Get the purest aloe vera you can find gel. Keep that in the fridge and put that on after a rough shave. And not only does it feel great, not only is it also great to have in there for if you get a sunburn, but it's great for the skin. I mean, it's so potent when it comes to its medicinal value. So aloe vera gel, and it's cheap. It's cheap too. And if you wanted to scent it, you could buy some essential oils, just add a couple drops to the bottle, shake them up, and you're good to go. What you got, Mantic?
A couple years ago, actually, I did a video on aftershaves, and in researching that video, the general advice that I found is if you're using multiple products, to apply the most watery product first, followed by the thicker product. Now that kind of assumes those products are for different uses. Certainly if you've got a splash and then a balm, there may be no reason for using both at the same time, just as you both have said. But if there are products for different uses, then you get into a slightly different condition, because from what I've researched, it was a matter of moisturization on the skin. And when you talk about a moisturizer, the product does not really put moisture into the skin as much as it prevents moisture from getting out of the skin. So you want to lock in that moisture with a thicker product. Now, obviously there are variations to this, as you both said. If you're in a hot, humid climate, hey, splash on a little splash with maybe even a little alcohol in it and go for it. Me personally, I have never found high alcohol aftershaves to be very useful for me, even though I have fairly oily skin, certainly a fair T-zone, and a fair amount of oiliness. High alcohol content products generally start drying out my face over time, and it's sort of a rebound effect where it does more harm than good. So I actually stick with balms myself, and I use a toner or a more watery type of liquid as a wipe down after the shave to just remove the little lather residue, if you will, before doing a quick cold rinse and then applying the balm.
Right. Well, see, I generally do like if I'm going to use a balm, I'll use the balm and put it on my face and then let it sit for maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes even. That's good. Just to kind of let it soak in and then use the splash as a chaser, so to speak. That just as the follow-up, and I leave some time for that balm to sit on there and do its job first and kind of absorb into the skin, and then go for the splash.
Yeah, see, my whole thing with that is just the alcohol is going to dissolve all the oils and butters that you just put on your skin, So to me, it's like almost a waste. Not saying what you're doing is a waste. Letting it sit on your skin for a while is great.
I could be doing it wrong.
That's just what I'm thinking when Mantic brought up a great point where it's about locking the moisture in, and that's why a lot of women will get out of the shower and they'll use moisturizer all over, once they dry off, to lock in all that, and guys do this as well. But yeah, it's the same principle, because a balm and a moisturizer, there really is no difference at the end of the day.
Right.
True. So did that answer the question?
I think so. There was a question here I want to address. So Stephen Davidson said, anyone excited about the new scents by Soap Commander and Fortitude returning on a permanent basis? I know I am. If you haven't already, you need, so October 18th, so on Tuesday, there is, or Soap Commander's releasing Fortitude again, so that was their fall scent last year, and a lot of people really, really liked it. It was just kind of meh for me. I ended up passing it on, but Honor, which is their barbershop, I know. Serenity is my favorite. Honor, though, their barbershop is going to be fantastic. You really, really, it's so
what
good.
What I haven't smelled it yet. I need to pick that one up.
No, me either.
It's if you smelled Mike's barbershop, it's like that, but I'm not sure what it is about it. It comes out just a little bit more, ever so slightly more citrusy, and I think maybe a bit more heavy on the oak moss. But I love it. It's
Mike's
so
was
good.
always reminded me of like a black tea, but yeah, actually, with bergamot though, there was like a citrus note in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I haven't used this in a while, but I do have that in my collection. It was one of my first soaps, actually. God bless Mike. Yeah. Where is Mike?
He's somewhere in Michigan.
Yeah, he really is. He is.
We need to get him on the show.
I don't know if we could ever find him. He's like an enigma.
He emailed me back once when I ordered from him.
Okay, well, you guys clearly have,
yeah, we have a relationship, so I'll
yeah. Do it. I would love to have.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's see. How does it compare to Fine's American Blend? I'm not a huge fan of Fine's American Blend. I don't know. To me, Mike's prior to smelling Honor, Mike's has been my favorite barbershop, and I've smelled a lot of them, but this one beats Mike's in my opinion.
Wow. Well, that brings up an interesting question for me: is what do you define as a barbershop scent? What goes into a barbershop scent for you? Mm-hmm. I'm curious.
For me, it's I found that some of them, for instance, like when you ask this question on a lot of the forums, and people always shout out like things like CAD or Seville from Barrister and Mann, or Mike's Barbershop, or Sterling Barbershop. To me, it's a really nice balance of everything, of the powdery stuff in the background, a few little citrus notes here and there, the oak moss, the bit of a woodiness to it. That's, to me, that's barbershop.
See, now to me, a barbershop has a talc element, an alcohol element, and a leather element. So it's a little different for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, talc, club guy, or clubman rather, talc clubman, and one of those other cheap aftershave splashes that they get out of the jug that's been under there since 1953. I don't know what it is, but it's in the air. And maybe that pomade smell.
Some people, barbershop is bay rum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the original barbershop if you really want to get down to it. I mean, probably the oldest aftershave.
I mean, like you mentioned, Clubman. Like that's a lot of people's idea of barbershop, because Clubman was such a ubiquitous aftershave. Clubman, it's for me, it's okay, but it's not like
Yeah, it's different. It changes too geographically. Like Europeans have a whole other thing in mind when they say like Floyd. You smell Floyd. Like at first sniff to me, that was like, whoa, what's this? But to them, it's very barbershop.
Tobacco.
Yes. Yeah. Tobacco. That's a big thing too. Yeah. That's very keen actually. Are they still smoking in barbershops over there? I wouldn't doubt if that's a.
Maybe.
Yeah, I remember.
Somebody in the comment or in the chat just said, Todd Sandalwood makes him think of a barber. I can see that.
Yes, Sandalwood too. Definitely is a barbershop scent.
Some of those like pillars of scents, like if you look at like the different categories, every one of those categories could be considered a barbershop to a lot of people, like the tobaccos, the sandalwoods, the bay rums, the all that kind of stuff.
Aquavelva, also
Aquavelva.
Admittedly, it's a little self-serving here, but as we're talking about it, maybe a article about what is a barbershop scent is something I will do in the future for Sharpologists. So if the people watching this want to kind of provide their own input on what they think a barbershop scent is comprised of, drop me an email, mantic59@sharpologist.com, and let me know what you think a barbershop scent is supposed to smell like, and I'll gather all the information and write something up for a future article.
Definitely. Yeah. I'll put it in next week's poll on the show. I'll also ask that question. Send over you the stats.
I was just going to say I can easily set up a Google form or something like that to just say, okay, check off these boxes, and that's what makes up barbershop for you.
In that case, do not email me. Wait for next week, and then we'll take it from there.
Do it.
Nice. But it's always an interesting question because it means different things to different people. It's fat.
See, and I didn't grow up going to a barbershop. Like, I just always, my mom took me to get my hair cut at the local Great Clips. You know, that's what I always ended up getting done. And so for me, like my actual exposure to barbershop was very different. Like, it didn't really come until I started wet shaving, and it just kind of molded into which of these barbershop scents do I like the most. Yeah. And I landed on the Mike's barbershop area.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, times have changed. I remember going to the barbershop. My dad would take me on the weekends, and then after that we'd go to the bar. And I'd get, like a Darth Vader, whatever those alcohol-free beverages are. Well, I don't know what he was drinking, but yeah, that was
Blue Dolphin.
Yeah, Blue Dolphin. I doubt it.
Water.
Moxie. I drank Moxie. That's what it was. But yeah, so it was very memorable in that regard.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. Now we got guys listing orange blossom, talcum powder. Yeah, talcum powder is a big thing for me.
That seems to be a common thread for a lot of them.
That's what they were brushing on us, and typically they were brushing on the club powder, from what I remember. Other questions? What do we got?
I see a popular YouTube shaver talking only about supporting good people. Are there really heroes and villains in the artisan shaving world? No need to name names. Why don't you take this one, Douglas? No.
Yeah. This is a hobby. I mean, like, we come here to talk about wet shaving, share knowledge on the craft. We don't come here for the BS or anything. I know I didn't come here for the BS or any of the other drama. I don't know why people need to bring up any of that stuff anytime. I mean, again, it's a hobby. We're in a community, a forum about shaving because it's a hobby. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a gentleman's thing. Good guys and bad guys. When people bring that stuff, I don't even know what that means.
People create their own drama.
Yeah, just leave it at the door. There's so much drama going on in everyday life. I don't know why they have to bring that stuff here,
Yep.
So I don't really have anything to say about that. Well, what I will say is we try not to bring up any drama here on this show, and we'll continue to keep it that way as far as I'm concerned, because it's a show about shaving.
I will say any artisan that I've had actual interactions with, they've been nothing but positive, nothing but excellent. I mean, I've had a few misunderstandings here or there, but communication, clear, concise communication, and open lanes of communication is really a big key there. It's just, people make a big deal when they really don't need to, and misunderstandings create drama. And so just be polite, be gentlemanly, be fair, and give people a chance to communicate, and a lot of these problems will never happen. Yeah, exactly.
People come from all walks of life that are involved in this hobby, so you're going to get all types of folks, and we're not going to agree on everything.
Yep.
But one thing the common ground that we do have is shaving, so I think we should just keep it at that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's all I got. What else we got?
Let's see. PAA double open comb stainless update.
Soon, guys, soon. I'm actually just waiting for the box and the engraving to happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Only drama I've had is, other than know-it-alls in forums, mostly because of me reading their comments to others. Let's see. Yeah, no. I think that's really when it turns into drama, is when people become experts. I mean, except for Mark, because he's awesome and he's always an expert. But
Mark is the only expert.
He's very humble about it, though.
I can tell you that my next video is going to generate some
Don't create drama.
Some concern and some drama, unfortunately. I know it's going to happen, but quite frankly, I've got a video that's sponsored by Gillette, and people are going to see that, and they're going to go, yeah! So I'm waiting
Mark
for it.
sold out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never mind that I've been in the niche for 10 years and I've got 100 and some odd videos out and things like that. But I just know when this next video drops that's sponsored by Gillette that I'm going to hear about it.
That's the part.
It was only a matter of time.
It's like, what do we live in? I mean, when did making money become a bad thing here? Especially when you've been giving away so much value for the last 15 years. I mean, like, for free on your dime and on your time, and you run a magazine, pretty much, Sharpologist. I mean, like, selling ad space or being paid to do what you do, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. God bless you.
It's my full-time job now.
Yeah. I won't fault anyone for that. You'll also see the same people that complain about this with the YouTube ads on their page. So it's like, I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, people are afraid to say anyone to mention they make money or they get a little money over here. It's like, geez.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I get crap every now and then because I monetize my videos and I have to tell people, relax. I've made $30 in a month.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. It's just to help offset the time that I spend to make these videos. I make the videos.
That's actually a lot. That's a lot, Scott. If you're making $30, you're doing really well.
All right. I'm making the big bucks now.
Yeah, YouTube is not exactly a large revenue source. Yeah.
Bloggers is what they call that. It'll buy you a beer maybe every now and then.
Yeah.
What else we get?
Or for me, a soda. But
yeah, a soda without sugar or something.
Yeah.
Without the cubes, without the ice cubes.
There you go.
So you heard it here first. Mantic is selling out, folks. I love it. Okay, what else we get?
Sorry if you hear that. That's my kids.
Even the kids are upset now.
Yeah. Then, Daddy, stop saying stupid stuff.
It's about the kids.
Let's see. Oh, I did not Marty. I did not know that Art of Shaving was owned by Procter & Gamble.
2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense, though. I mean,
own both horses.
Actually, P&G is trying to get rid of the Art of Shaving division now. Yeah.
I wonder why. Huh.
I'm sure it's just not as big of a moneymaker as Gillette wants. Who knows?
Well, and it might
if
just
you're
be
every mall, I mean, it's gonna be, their overhead must be insane. Now I heard P&G also owns Voskhod and Rapira now. Wait, am I right? No, Astra. Is that true?
No idea.
I haven't heard this.
I skimmed over that article that was in the New York Times a couple of weeks back on wet shaving or something about wet shaving. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was an article written by some gentleman on just pretty much on wet shaving. Talked about, I think it was Astra Blades briefly, and mentioned that P&G owned them.
It would surprise me if some of the bigger companies are picking those up. It also wouldn't surprise me if P&G is trying to get rid of Art of Shaving now, just because, I mean, the storefront version, that setup is kind of hard to be successful. I mean, it's a franchise essentially, and where a lot of those products are available online, it's less about, people don't necessarily go down to the mall to pick up Art of Shaving stuff repeatedly.
It's a boutique in a mall, for one thing. If you really want to get down, it's a gentleman's boutique. Yeah. It's the wrong crowd. It's not the mall crowd. I don't think so, anyways. And I just think the overhead is pretty much that explains a lot of their prices. I mean, it's just the overhead in the mall all around the country, So that's what I suspect is going on if that is the case.
I remember going to an Art of Shaving in the Mall of America when I was in Minneapolis earlier this year, and the guy was trying to sell me on a bunch of stuff. I'm like, I wanted to have the whole, oh gosh, now I'm blanking on his name. Ron Swanson kind of a thing where, the guy from the Home Depot comes up to him and is saying, can I help you find anything? Ron's like, I know more than you. I wanted to say that to this guy.
I wanted to do that with you also at Big Shave West, I wanted me, you, Con, and like a bunch of other guys to go to the local auto shave and just play dumb. And I wanted to record it all, like him talking to us about,
Body cams.
Tell me more about this. How do you say shit? Yeah.
Wait, how do you set a blade in here? Why does it only have one blade?
Have you guys tried this? Lightfoots. I paid far too much for it. I went to Seattle Underground when I was in Seattle recently, and they were selling like period stuff, like old school brushes, all types of weird stuff that had to do with 100 years ago. And this is one thing they were selling. Come to find out, it's made in Rhode Island, but I thought it was like a Seattle thing. And it's just your regular old puck of soap. I think it's cold processed. It honestly sucks. I soaked it. I really tried to get the most out of this, and I just wanted to bring up this point because an email I'll often get, or I'll read in the forums where guys like, yeah, the puck stinks, I'm now using it as a body soap in the shower. And I just want to say that that's a bad idea. And the reason why is shave soap is not meant to be cleansing. It's not formulated to be a cleansing puck of soap, so it's not going to work like a body soap. It's formulated, whereas body soap is. So instead of doing that, what I recommend you do with these, instead of chucking them out or whatever you're going to do with them, is use it as a pre-shave soap. That's where it's shine for me. I soak it and I just rub it up against the hairs before I apply the lather or whatever else I'm using. And it's so as a pre-shave soap, which it wasn't designed for, it really shines. But I don't think you'll find this anywhere else but Seattle Underground. But if you're ever there, it's not worth the price. Another thing I wanted to mention really quick too is I was at Joann's Fabrics, and because it's that time of year, you go there for stuff to decorate the house with, because I do that. And I found a bag of corks. It had all different size corks, but this one happens to fit the Bakelite handle really well. So if anyone's saying that the handle or thinks the handle's too light for them, now you can fill it up with BBs or wherever else you choose to do, and just cork it with one of these things. Joann's Fabrics. So they'll add you a little weight to it. That's my new hack for this week. Okay, we have time for one more question, I believe. Any that we've missed in the sidebar anywhere?
Not on the side, I don't think. There's some talk down in the bottom about Pulsilver DE blades being discontinued.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's the rumor, at least. Is that they're going to discontinue, which is sad because they're good blades.
Oh man! Well, they got discontinued a few years ago and then came back. So hopefully this will be the same thing, because that's one of my favorite blades.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I have to look more into that. I want to see evidence of this, folks. But that just shows you how much we really have as the wet. We think the wet shaving community, we think we're huge and we really affect businesses in one way or the other. But like,
we don't.
Has them in their collection, but still they're not being able to pull this off. Website, pull the plug. Ah, that's a damn shame. Masters is also stopping or discontinued champagne. For those of you who use the Masters aftershave splashes, which is classic barbershop splashes. But they are discontinuing champagne, which is very sad. But again, I mean, I sell it off the shelf, but you don't know. Nick Shaves has been revisiting modern equipment. Oh yeah, I've seen Nick Shaves been doing some cartridge shave. Oh, and that brings. I did have one question here, and it's a question that comes to me again. I'm sure it comes to everybody, where a gentleman's just been introduced to wet shaving, and he always starts with he's looking for advice, but he always starts off with, "I have sensitive skin." And so I just want to address that a little. If you
just think you have sensitive skin.
If you're new to wet shaving, you've been using a cartridge razor for the last 15 years, you've been hurting your skin for the last 15 years, and that's what's been causing the sensitive skin. But somehow in our minds, we now think we have sensitive skin, and a lot of people will let this
and a thick stubble at the same time.
No, it's true.
But I can't tell you how many times I've seen that.
Yeah. No, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of them, but that's one and it'll stay in their heads. Like 2 years into wet shaving, they're still buying scentless soap because they have sensitive skin. It's like, guys, it's gone. And maybe let your skin heal a week before you hop onto the safety razor from cartridge. It'll just return to its equilibrium and balance, and then you'll realize fairly shortly that you don't have sensitive skin at all. So a lot of you out there that are watching right now that think they have sensitive skin, give that a test. What are some of the other ones, Mark, that come in?
Oh gosh, related to that, I see a lot of relatively new people, maybe a year or so into it, that will go back to a cartridge razor for one reason or another, and they get a terrific, unbelievable shave, and they're like, "What the heck happened?"
Yes.
And they don't really realize that their
Technique.
their lather product and their technique have improved, so that the razor becomes less important as it was.
Right.
I see that all the time.
Yeah. I just saw that
Absolutely.
last week. We spoke about this, right, Scott? Was that where I had someone who went back? He was selling off all of his gear.
Yeah.
He was watching the show though. Afterwards, he was like, "You know what? I went back and tried it again." So, but he was on the fence. He thought he was having a terrific shave with a cartridge razor. And it's another thing. It's kind of like taking a break from something, going back to it, and being better than ever. But it wanes off again too. So I've seen that.
Yep.
Okay, I have a dog now. Well, folks,
I've never gone back to the cartridge though.
No, I have no plans. We know too much about it. It's just like those diseased little things. I mean, no, it's not an option.
I actually have under certain conditions, and just like the people that write in, I still get a great shave, but for whatever reason, I use a cartridge for the specific circumstance I find myself in. So it's just one of those things. I try and find the best or the most appropriate tool for the circumstances.
Right.
Most of the time, that's a DE. Once in a while, particularly if I'm traveling, and just depending if I travel like with a carry-on only, I'll throw in a Mach 3 or even a disposable if it's only going to be a couple of days, and I still get a good shave out of it.
Yep. I'm not there. Can't do it. I have bought those little bikini razor cartridge things though for under the mustache. I'm guilty of that. Those don't work that great. But I can't see myself ever returning to it. And I'll go out of my way to not use a cartridge. I will send DE blades ahead to the hotel I'm staying at. I will call CVS in that area. Do you offer DE blades? And I'll end up using the what do they sell at CVS? They sell the CVS brand. Which, it's Dorco, but what's the CVS brand? That's is the Israeli company.
Sure.
They
Crystal?
They do private. What?
Persona?
Persona.
Persona's US made.
Is it US made?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, they're in Virginia, I think.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Virginia.
Yes, they're the only one that's. Is that right? I'm thinking of something else, maybe.
I think they're the only US made
DE
blade.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, it says it on the package now that I think about it too, and they say made in the USA. But yeah, they're the ones who private label the hell out of their blades to all the pharmacies, from what I understand.
Yep.
But that's it, folks. This has been another epic episode of the Wet Shavers Roundtable. It's a really good episode today, and thank you all for participating. Thank you, especially Mantic, for being here today. This was a pleasant surprise. And if you want to join us again next week, you're more than welcome to. Would love to have you back on, and we can do that poll.
Hopefully by next week, Joe Borelli will be back on, so that'll help too.
We're seats, so it'd be great to have both you guys. And we'll do that. We can do that barbershop poll as well. But yeah, terrific show today. I didn't have to pull any of my questions. You guys kept the questions coming, and this is why the audience, you guys are just the lifeblood of the show. You keep the show moving along. Yep. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week for yet another Q&A Wet Shavers Roundtable episode. So thanks for joining us today. Until then, shave on.